Good morning. It's a chilly Saturday morning here in Accra, and you're welcome to the Living Well Show right here on Metro TV. My name is Ethel Popolampo, and as I always say, this is the only show that will help you get tidbits on how to live really well. We'll give you a little bit of aerobics, a little bit of food, and a little bit of discussions that you can use to hold body, as I always say. Now, we do understand that it's a Saturday, so you might want to step out, and that is why my production team and I are very generous enough to tell you that don't worry, you can carry us along wherever you are going to, because we are live on Facebook and also on Twitter at Metro TV Ghana and Metro TV GH. So don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. There we have it. There you had our inspirational quote. Today we'll be talking about food safety. If you watch the show a lot, you know how much I get excited whenever food is mentioned. And so this topic, I'm a little bit biased towards it because we are going to be talking about my favorite part of the show. I have two gentlemen. I know, awkward. We should be talking to women, but then gender equality allows us to talk to men about food. And so I have two gentlemen in the studio to help me discuss food safety and the proper ways to handle food. So let's take their profile.
Dr. Benjamin Kisisasu is a veterinary surgeon by profession. He is currently the deputy head of the National Food Safety Lab at the Veterinary Services Directorate of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. He is a member of the Technical Working Group of the Intersectoral Food Safety Coordinating Committee of Ghana. Dr. Sasu is a member of Ghana One Health Technical Working Group, and he is also a member of the National Risk Communications and Social Mobilization Committee. Ernest Asare is a registered clinical dietitian and the project coordinator at NEMAT Nutrition for the corporate, school and sports nutrition programs. He holds a bachelor's degree in clinical nutrition and dietetics from the University of Cape Coast and currently licensed with the Allied Health Professionals Council of Ghana. Ernest Asare is passionate about improving the quality of lives through good nutrition in accordance to clinical nutrition standards. He has passion for nutrition advocacy and has been featured on few media platforms.
Right, I know by now I sound like a broken record, but I said it 3 weeks ago, I said it 2 weeks ago, I said it last week, and I'll say it this week. You see our soundtrack, if we put it on Apple Play Store, we are gone. We have the best soundtrack in the country. But that being said, gentlemen, thank you for joining me. We've already started the conversation behind the scenes, which I'm so happy about. Ernest, I think we've done a lot of talking. So let me start with Dr. Francis. Growing up, we know that when you're hungry, you eat. And then when you listen to your science teachers, you know that certain food have nutrients that help you grow and give you energy. And then we go up again and then we hear that, oh, the body can survive without food, but not water. How important is food to us as human beings?
Great. I think basically we all know food is medicine, but food can also be poison. That's one thing about life. Everybody says everything must be done in moderation. Something good can tend to be bad. Food, as we talk about, is good for life, basically. Every living thing needs food because of the nutrients. So even if somebody is sick and the nutrient can be found in fluid, so So when people go to hospitals, and those are things that basically, but we who are healthy get a chance to choose varieties and consume them. And it all happens with from farm to fork. That's what we basically say. And that's really about food safety. Now, when we talk about food safety, people are looking at when it's on their table. But there are a lot of things happen behind the scenes. And it's a long change. From production to fork means from the farm. So we go into, one, how the person set up the farm, especially when it comes to animal production. Is it set in an area that is closer to a waste management place? Are there chemicals in the areas that are being used, the air pollutions? All these things are things we don't bring of concern. The same thing happens to crop production. So is the topography of the landscape that effluents are coming from industries that are using certain chemicals, or because it comes back to the soil, we get them through the crops that we take them. These are things that we don't basically see. And that's what my lab sticks to do, check on residues, check on bacteria and all those things. That is a production point. So farmers play a major role at the production point. What kind of practices are they putting into place? So for farms, like animal production, like what is happening in Upper East right now, that there's yes, there's an anthrax right now. It's all because at production level, some certain things went wrong. Ghana practice grazing. We take our cattle out for grazing, so they move around. All like Europe, whereby they stay, they go and fetch the grass or their feed for them. No. So with the anthrax, the bacteria survives in the soil for more than 60 years. So since they continue to graze, the chances of picking it up is high.
But you mentioned your lab and crop production.
Yeah.
How effective is the work of your lab right now in Ghana?
Okay, great. So we are under Ministry of Food and Agriculture, and we are basically under Veterinary Service Directorate of Ministry of Food and Agriculture. So we have plant and protection regulatory. They also have a lab that deals with the crops. My lab mainly handles animal food products. That is the fish. People don't know that we do tests on fish.
And do we actually do it? That's what I want to
know. So these are things that are coming on concern. Yeah. The truth is that it is like we waited because of exports. Because when you're sending to European countries, they are strict about the standard. It's like what we consume was something that we're not really taking in, really look at it. But the good news is that last year, a national food safety policy for the first time was launched in the country to bring various agencies. And now that we have done a work plan, which we are now beginning to implement, it's bringing us to understand that we're more dealing with what was going out than our people. And if you have realized, in the past 3 years, the cases of cancers, people fundraising, these are concerns. And the issue about food poisons and all those things, some are instant, acute, some are chronic. And those are about 10 or 15 years, people have kidney failure, liver, because we are not all equal. People have livers that are not so strong. And the more they are taking products that are compound the issue, because they bring the toxins, it's like a machine. The more the dirt is being churned out to the liver, the more it weakens the system. And it's not getting enough distance. So if you realize the cases, it's come too much. And the case whereby mining is coming an issue, is becoming a concern, whereby I've seen some animals dying due to, and rather we are even hearing the pathologists telling us that the kind of babies coming out is of concern. And how did it get there? It's through this food, and water plays essential part.
Right, you've established that the importance of testing foods before we eat it. You mentioned the farm to fork method. And you've also mentioned that there's now a work plan to make sure that food, not only foods that are being taken out of the country are tested, but then the ones consumed in here. Now, my question is, do we have enough facilities to make sure that every single food that is produced in Ghana is tested well?
Okay, so currently there are facilities. The problem has become with the various stakeholders. So when we say we have to test the food, that means that every single food, we do what we call sampling.
Okay.
So from one big farm or from one region, you pick a product from this from farm, and there's a continuous, not one-off. So the moment an area is known as hot zones or hot spot, it means that place constantly you have to put an attention. These are people are doing certain things, and there are lots of things that we look at. Not basically picking. There's a checklist. If you check the topography there, where the position of their farms, they pass through what we call biosecurity, then you give them a level. So you will pick some samples and you see that they pass. Now, when it comes to the problem is transport.
Okay.
On the transport, a lot of things do happen.
Right. I'll let Ernest handle that. We'll come back to you. Then we stick to the
Crops.
part.
Also.
Ernest, before we went on the break, okay, behind the scenes, you were telling me about the transportation of food and then cooking of the food and all that. Take us through. How is it? How should we handle food when we are transporting it from the farm to the market and then finally to our plates?
Okay, so as my colleague earlier said, food safety is not just about the food on the table. So it starts from the farm down to the plate. So it's involves the handling, preparation, storage, and serving of food in a way that prevents foodborne illness. So from the farm, especially when foods that are very perishable, just like tomatoes, they need to be transported as early as possible. You understand? Because in our system we don't have silos and food storage systems that can keep these foods fresh for a long time. As much as possible, when they are harvested, they need to be transported to either the market or those who are ready to buy them. Then at the market, if you receive, or you, the seller, when you receive these products, you also have to ensure safety protocols when it comes to the storage. So for perishable foods, like let's say like the tomatoes are used, for instance, we need to freeze them. So with freezing, we have something we call food temperature danger zone. So that is the range, the food temperature range at which food is likely to develop higher microorganisms, which will cause spoilage or even rotting. So the temperature zone is just between 5 degrees Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius. So if you are supposed to chill or freeze the food, it's supposed to be below 5.
Ernest, how do I know that? 5 degrees Celsius.
So
fridge is fridge. You just pop the food
so
inside.
we have certain refrigerators that have temperature ranges on them.
Okay.
Yes, even you can also even use your thermometer in your fridge and also measure the temperature of your fridge or the freezer. So if, as I said, if the food is supposed to be freezed or chilled, it has to be below 5 degrees or 4 degrees Celsius. If it's supposed to be boiled or heated, it's supposed to be 60 or 70, above 60 or 70 degrees Celsius. So that's the temperature zone, the food danger temperature zone. So all foods has to be above or below this temperature zone to avoid food poisoning or foodborne illness, or to reduce microbial actions. So that's basically some of the safety protocols that needs to be adhered to.
Yeah, you also mentioned how we can prevent food poisoning or gastrointestinal infections by cooking the food well.
Yeah.
We're making a point there.
Yeah. So when it comes to after you've purchased your products, bring them to your home. So it starts with cleaning. So first you have to clean your utensils. Your utensils that you use in preparing your food has to be very, very clean. So start from your knife, any utensils has to be very clean. Your environment that you are cooking also has to be very clean. Then you start with your foodstuffs to wash them. So for vegetables, some, especially those that will be eaten raw, we have something we call vegetable scrap. You can scrap them with
Ernest, some shots of tomatoes just passed by.
Yeah.
It was, I wouldn't say it has gone bad because I'm not a food expert.
Yeah.
But this looks like
fresh.
a fresh tomatoes. Yeah. But then there were some that part of it has gone bad.
Yeah.
Is that good for consumption? Can we wait? This is a food lover here. No food slandering will be allowed here. Can we cook it well so that?
So to that stage, it's not safe for consumption because part of it is rotten. You understand? So for that stage, it's not safe for consumption. Getting them very fresh is the best. For that part, it's not safe. So no matter how the microbial action has already started and it has gotten to the stage that the cooking and everything will not do anything to it.
With these spoiled tomatoes, we have chobbers that go to the market just to buy this one because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Are you saying we've been eating poison?
So as I said, at the market centers, that's why you, the buyer, the one going to buy your food product, you have to be very selective. Try to get foods that are very close to the healthy ones, if not the healthy one, but closer to the healthy ones.
People who buy from restaurants and chow bars who don't have the luxury of being there when they how do we handle these?
So as dietitians, mostly when you come for consultation and you are put on diet, we try as much as possible to tell you that do most of your cooking yourself or do homemade foods as much as possible. About 90% of your meals should be from home, so that you'll be able to control these little things that they are behind the scenes, you understand? It's not always that you can be preparing your own food, but once in a while you can buy from outside. But you also, as I said earlier, try getting something closer to the healthy one. There are certain things you can't really control, but the ones that you can control as much as possible, you try and take charge of them.
Right. We also saw shots of tubers of yam. On the background, does it pose any danger? Since we peel off the peels before we cook, is there any issue with having yams on the floor in the market?
So ideally, it's supposed not to be on the floor. Yeah, since most of the tubers, they can stay longer a while before they even get bad. But ideally, it's supposed not to be on the floor. That's what I can see.
How do you store yams? Because I know you're supposed to put it on the cold floor so it doesn't go bad. Yeah. So how do you store it properly?
So for yam, you can also cut them, not peeling it off totally, but you can cut them into smaller pieces and keep them in your fridge. It's also okay. You can do it that way for your storage. The same way, if you've not cut them, you can keep it a whole in a cool place, a place where you will not have water pouring on them, or like just cool room temperature for them to be there.
Right, we'll come back to talk about the food thermometers that you were talking about that we had a good laugh about. But then we have a video of market women sharing their knowledge on how best you can handle food. Let's go for that video. When we come back, the conversation continues.
Na de bi ahye fom nti de oho no wo yusu na de oho ne san wakotu fom no wasen ayi foforo asan baba be yusu de ba ya ense
aduane pan de eti se aduane ne se wo bo ho ban a wo de be hye ade mu na wo de ato ho ense na ye pese niama a ye di a ense no se ankasa niama na ye krade banankasa enche na asei. First
off, when you buy it from the market, we need to wash it with salt before we will be putting it into our fridge.
Duade ngmene ka he ni esani nke wo kenten mi ni ma ha no fe fine be na fe ni ekagbin opono ko ke fon no ona ke si me ko meta bi na me ke oti amenyi sis mo ne ke ke fon ana le oya ya mo ni e feel simple ha.
Right. Ernest, I'll come back to you, but Dr. Sasi, you heard some of the suggestions the market women give about storing food. Over 10, how will you rate their knowledge?
Okay, so these are what we call traditional methods of storing food, and they are right in that perspective. And concerning those times of production whereby we didn't have chemicals entering into this food that they were keeping long as it is. Now with these traditional methods, some are not still working because of we are having chemicals. And if you went a step ahead and asked them that in the past, how many weeks were they keeping long? They will tell you that now it has changed. Even with eggs, first people could keep eggs, crate of eggs for a long time. Now after a week or two, and these are issues because of the antibiotics that is being used in the poultry industry. And in all these things, when we say from production to farm, we have a role that the consumer can play. But there's a rules that regulatory agencies, which veterinary service play a key role when it comes to animal product from production to farm, so from farm to production. Food and Drug Authority has a role to play, and the Plant Protection, which is known as PPISD, Canada Standard Authority also have a role to play in setting the standards and all those things. So it's a major, big area. Like when you asked about the restaurants and hotels, so that's a bigger role for Food and Drug Authority, which from time to time, they need to do what we call unannounced visits. We have done a few ones that we have had places closed down to announce. So when you ask about these tomatoes, it has come to the committee. We are looking at it. The truth is that in implementing certain laws or policies, you have to know that everything is about money. A farmer is putting money. In Ghana, we don't do grading system. European country, they have a grading system. So when the tomatoes are like this is the amount from this. So they have processes, systems. So about 3 days or 4 days, it must move from the market. And maybe an industry must buy them, use for canning. For us, it stays there. If nobody buys, under the sun, and they still go bad. And they are in to make business. You can't fault them. And the chopper producer, the chopper operators and the restaurants, they're also in to make business. So if they go and today they feel like, let me buy a little bit, how do you call it? We call it not wholesome one. Because once the physical structure of the whole food has been changed, we will not call it wholesome. Maybe a place has gone in and all those things. They don't want to buy because they feel heat can do everything. The truth is that not all bacteria that heat can destroy, like this anthrax case. So it's come to a concern. So we are looking at it, and in doing those things, we don't want to run away from our traditional method. We are looking at ways that they are doing and trying to put solutions and recommendations. Because if you press on to enforce the laws, people will not mind it. It won't work because of our system. The economy also plays a key factor. So we are looking at now alternatives. So we are bringing the Association of Industries on board for them to get ideas that, okay, what are we doing? So when we say this tomatoes, it comes to maybe, let's take an Agbo-Bridge market. It arrived, it spent maybe 3 days on the journey. First day, it gets to the market. How many days should we spend in the market? There should be a channel whereby after the 3rd day or 4th day, and industries come to buy them before they start going bad. Also, food wastage is costing this country when we look at the statistics and the food insecurity. So it's a bigger role. Ghana, we're not there because in the beginning we're not taking on concern. We just wanted what we wanted to eat and go. I just came from a trip to go and look at Germany, how they handle food. And you could see that we are not yet there. We have a lot.
Will we get there anytime soon?
Yes, if, how do you call it? With the implementation after 3rd, we are on the way. Lucky on October, a team will come to also share what I went to learn there, come and see our systems and give us ideas what we can start. We have to start from somewhere. Yeah. Because no matter every day people need to eat.
Because I feel like we've not even started at all.
Oh, we are not bad. Because we are not getting, when you look at the foodborne illnesses, the data that we generate compared to Europe, though they are doing their best, we are on the better side. I also even know that we have a lot of people dying out of foodborne illness. The greater problem that we are facing right now is the issue of residue, which antibiotics are part. So right now, you go to hospital, a clinician diagnoses you. You go and buy the medicine that didn't work, and you may think it's the fault of the clinician. Oh, this doctor there. Because we are taking those residues little by little. So your microbes have gotten too used to it. We call it resistant. So the day that you get sick, they give you, it's supposed to work. It doesn't work. So sometimes it might even take 3 days, must work. No, and it has gotten to tuberculosis. Those who have tuberculosis, they have to keep on changing drugs because of all these issues. So sometimes we want to fight with the hospitals that, they're not doing well. And then another truth is that when it comes to health facilities, we lack. Normally, we are supposed to do antibiotic susceptibility test of any infection before we diagnose, we prescribe the drugs. And that test is also expensive. With the facilities, how many do we have? So now we are looking at, so next week there's a meeting to look at how we could put strategies with our limited resources so that at least the doctors can have sample of data of new drugs that they need to use, which have gone resistant. And the problem that getting new drugs developed takes years and it's expensive. Very, very expensive. And when they even come to the market, can we even buy? If like the malaria drug right now, look at the cost of even the right one, it's most expensive. So these are things that it has been predicted that if you don't do things, 2050, a lot of people will be dying gradually out of this antimicrobial resistance. Right. And Ghana, we have cases. Lucky, the head of the secretariat, what he has become passionate about it, about the AMR, because he saw his own mother dying out of it. He was a pharmacist.
And it's interesting how these diseases that hit you through eating bad food is no joke. Yeah. I had the experience gastrointestinal infection. It was no joke. I'm like, why is... I had never heard of it until I experienced it. and it was the most uncomfortable situation I'd experienced in a long time. Dr. Sasu, I'll come back to you, but Ernest, this is a game my friends and I play. We will play that game. I mention a foodstuff, and then you tell us how to store it. One of the common one is hot sauces and ketchup. Is it supposed to be frozen or is it supposed to be in the cupboard?
So mostly for the processed foods. So far as they've been processed, they are okay. Yeah, but let's say something like those in the cans. So let's say like a tomato paste. So after you use the tomato paste and it's left, you have to take it out.
Wait, I'm about to lose a bet. Did you say the processed foods can be in the cupboard?
So as I said, like with the one in the glass, those in the plastic bowls, they can still be in the cupboard. Okay. But the one in the cans, after you've used and there's leftovers, you have to take them out into maybe a plastic bowl, then you put them in a refrigerator or a fridge.
Another big one, eggs, frozen or be on the counter?
So as my colleague rightly said, for now, our eggs, they can just be on the counter. They really even last for 1 weekend and gets go bad. So you can put so you don't really recommend freezing them, but you can just put them in the refrigerator and make sure that
prolong
the shelf life. Yes.
Right. Let's talk about cooking the food. You mentioned cooking thermometer, which is very new to our society. How important is it for us to cook our food well?
So cooking your food well is so important. Reduces the risk of microbial actions. As much as possible, you need to cook your food at the right temperature to avoid any foodborne illness. Basically, as I said, with the temperature zone that we spoke about. So if the food is supposed to be boiled, boiling starts from 100 degrees Celsius. So that one is good. But poaching, steaming, between 70, 80, 90 degrees Celsius is okay for you. So it depends on what you are cooking and the temperature. Most vegetables don't need excessive heat or excessive cooking. So you have a little temperature that you cook them. Because when some of the vegetables have nutrients that are heat sensitive, some are also water soluble. So the more you expose them to the heat, you drain out the nutrients that you need. So some vegetables, we don't excessively cook them. But when it comes to the meat or the poultry and the rest, they need the heat a lot. So for them, especially when you are cooking, we try, and that's where mostly the heat thermometer comes in. But in our local setting, we don't really have these things around. So we just use colors and maybe texture or the flavor to ascertain whether they are okay or not. So for instance, let's say poultry starts from maybe when you are steaming, the color changes from maybe pink to white. And you
start perceiving the aroma.
You start perceiving the aroma. So these are some of the little things in the absence of the thermometer, but we can use. But when you ask, you actually saying off stage, when you go to these foreign countries, they are persistent. They are very, very attentive to what they eat, the temperature at which their food cooks, even the portion size or the quantity of ingredients they're using.
Hey, can that affect you anyway? The quantity of ingredients you put in your food?
So it depends on your system. So let's say some people don't really like, so spices maybe, when you talk about the spices, some people are not really good with a lot of pepper, you understand? So it depends on the individual, what you are okay with in your system. Some can take large amounts of pepper, even some people even react to garlic, certain spices, you understand? So it depends on the individual, what the individual is okay with when it comes to the system.
This discussion has been an eye-opener because in a society where cooking is dependent on doing it till the ancestors tell you it's okay. Like, they'll tell you put the salt in until you feel within your gut and instincts that it's okay.
Yeah.
I'll come back to you so we talk more about the preparation of food. But then, Dr. Sasu, let's talk about the testing of food. You've established in different ways that is very important for us to test the food, from farm to market to fork.
Yeah.
At what point do we have to test the food? Who is supposed to bring the food in, or who is supposed to go to these food producers to test the food? If it's on the farm, who is supposed to bring it? Who is supposed to go to them at the market? Who is supposed? Let's get that out
Great.
of the way.
So laboratory testing of food samples is quite expensive, and normally we call it monitoring. So you monitor the food safety from the farm level. So at the farm level, what currently we are doing is that the new work plan is asking that beginning, every year we should have data on those who are into farming. So if you are into a farm, what type of farming are you doing, your name, the location, then we check your records. You need to be keeping records on what is happening. Then in every district or municipality, there are staff, so agri staff. It might be it can be an extension officer, animal production officer, or a vet personnel. And they normally know the number of farmers they have. They will visit you from time to time to see the kind of practices you are doing, to even first of all ensure that there is no any disease outbreak in your farms, whether being crops or being animal. So this is the first step that they do. Now, as they do all those things. Once in the course of the year, there's a team that we go. We normally do 2 or 3 times a year. Some of the products we are looking at doing 4 times a year, quarterly. Unannounced, we come to a region, then we said, we are coming for some samples to go and test in the lab. Then we do so. Sometimes after that, we come and do dissemination workshops. So at the farm level, we do go around to pick. And that information to let us know the hotspot of certain diseases in the country. And we can say, so this is what. Sometimes after that, we organize workshops to inform them so that they change their attitude. And that's been working. That of Doma, which is a poultry hub, we have gone there. Now they have picked it and they are becoming mentors, ambassadors to it. They have reduced antibiotics. Okay, too has happened. And people are calling us to introduce other places. Now it's not about go and enforce them. No. You do it with them, share ideas, help them, guide them, then they will let you bring the solutions. Right. Now from there, when it leaves the farm, what happens? It gets to the market. So let us take, if it's animal product, so that the animals are sent to a slaughter facility. When the animals are leaving a farm, they need to have a movement permit. So if you like the Atlas case like this, we have from Upper East, we are not allowing movement from those areas. That means veterinary is not going to issue movement permits. Then when they get to any slaughter facility, they will get a slaughter permit over there. They will check whether it's moving from a zone that we feel they're safe, the animals are okay. Like as we're going to have I know they are looking at where these are things that the security will help us and the vet will help. At the slaughter facility, we do what we call antemotem. We inspect to see physically is good, and before when the slaughter permit is given, it is slaughtered. When it's slaughtered and it's being hanged, we go around, we have veterinary personnel. The environmental will make sure the area that is being done is safe. Even from some time, we are using ties even to burn. And advocacy came and now people have stopped using the ties to burn. So look at the environmental helps. They're going to look at it. If there are parts like liver, kidney, or a part of the animal which must not be consumed, the vet condemns it. And environmental health people will make sure that it is buried. Chemicals are poured so that people don't get a chance. Because if you just say it's condemned, people in a slaughter facility can just pick it for animals. So these are issues. Then from there, when it's passed, you have to ensure that others go to a cold room. In developed places, we are not supposed to go around and buy your own animal to slaughter.
Okay.
It should have been done, but we have a traditional method, so we try to help and give this adequate assistance to that. So it's go to the cold room, or people who are coming to pick them to a market. There's an issue which is happening currently. When you go to the market, there's no cold room. You see them on the benches or the tables.
The private
How long does it stay on the table? These are issues that is coming of concern that we are also going to look at. So if you look at, as I said, it's a big issue. So over there too, now we are going to look at once a while. We go to those places and supermarket who also keep those chicken product or animal product, meat, and also pick samples and check that and compare data from where it happened, whether it was safe, when it got there, what's happening there. Then finally, from there, any consumer goes to buy. Now, when the consumers go and buy, then the duty now shifts from those places. It becomes your own consent. So at these places,
that's when the cooking well comes in.
Yes. I think in the cooking well, when you get chefs, they are very good at telling time. In normal preparation, they have durations. So when they exceed naturally, you will know that all the nutrients are left off, or when the color change and those things. The reason why the thermometers are not given to private homes is that the thermometers are for standard laboratory. Like I come to my lab, all the fridges are calibrated. Not like you that your home, I don't think Ghana Standard Authority can calibrate, no. For us, they must, because we are testing your product. So that when we test and we say it is wrong, we ask, the machines are using has been calibrated. So Ghana Standard Authority every year comes, check, and they even calibrate the thermometers to see whether they are working. So for us, they must. And every day, as we sit here, today in my lab, somebody will go and record the temperatures. So when it's falling, what is the problem? We have to give explanation to those things before. So the thermometers are normally for laboratories, for your various houses and all those things. You can own them. But when I went to Europe like this, most restaurants, they have thermometers near their heaters and those things. And I was happy. We checked, and the man, the food safety officer who was going around for the inspection, which I went with, he also have a thermometer that is a laser. He points to the food and is able to pick and compare with your temperature that you have set down. Then he will tell you that whether it passed or not. So this is where they have gone into, and we are in a part that we need to speed up.
I don't know how to put this question, because when you were speaking, I got the impression that we can approach this enforcing of this is how it's supposed to done on the farmers and all that, because maybe they might rebel and not do it at all.
The issue is a social, cultural factor.
Okay.
They have lived it for so many years. And at those times, the industrialization was not in, urbanization was not in. So chemicals and the human issues were not there, diseases, because the farms were widely apart. Now, because of urbanization, because of people trying to make use of land, now they're having few areas to do farming. So if you go to an area and a lot of farms very close, they're not even respecting distances. And that's where issues are coming, and the mining and all those things. So now, to tell them that their great-grandfathers did all those things and never saw this.
Let's look at, in advanced countries, we know that you can trace a product to the farm it's coming from.
Yeah.
If someone eats food that causes them maybe food poisoning or something, in Ghana, since we are not cracking the whip too much when it comes to best practices, especially with the farms, due to the reasons you've given, how do we trace the origin of these problems, maybe food poisoning in the people who eat the food? How do we trace it back? How do we solve this issue if we are not going to make sure that this is it and this is how it must be done?
Great. That reminds me what I saw in German. I saw an egg that have written something on it.
Yeah, you see the stamps.
Yes, and I asked them why. First, I didn't read it. I saw, and they said it's for traceability. Ghana, we have traceability method. There's ours is slow.
Okay.
The other one is instant. The moment, because it is written on a product, like this perishable, like if you see an egg that they had written on it, even when we went to the restaurant, the tomatoes or whatever, it needs to be a rubber. You need to put a date that you bought it and where it is coming from. For us, we'll get it, but just that one, the person who is suffering, if nobody's around him, somebody has to tell us what he ate. So if you tell her, okay, you went to eat a wachi or went to eat rice somewhere, then we now get a place. If it's not there and it's a home cook, then we have to go back to the house and get relatives there. So sometimes some of the things we need a person to survive to tell us, or people around him to tell us. So when they get there, they'll ask, okay, where did he go and buy from? So it will take us maybe, depending on the officers, logistics available, within 24 hours, 2 days, 24 to 78 hours, 72 hours it could be. But in Europe, we need 5 or 10 minutes. Because once you tell us that you ate this, they pick the product.
How do we get to that 10 minutes span here in
Because right from the farm, the product leaving, there's a label attached, like the egg.
So can we implement that in
We
Ghana?
could.
Yeah.
So why haven't we done it yet?
Yes, I said, issues of food and certain things that was done in the developed countries wasn't so much concerned. We didn't really understand. We felt like, oh, we can't say ABB. They had food kaka, I want to know where it's coming from. But now with the issues happening, we've gone to study and we said, no, we have to do the same thing. So it's a big well plan. We're starting from somewhere. And this time we're starting a way that must be sustainable because one, we are a developing country. There's issue with money. So you have to look at the current system that you have and develop a system that is tailored fit to your system. we can't import exactly everything, but we want to achieve the same goal that they are achieving, so that we don't need to pump more money, because already the resources available are inadequate. So we are looking at it small. Usually when we start at meeting, we meet quarterly. When we start at meeting, we say, wow, the workload is quite
so
huge.
you have seen the situation here in Ghana. You've been opportune to see the situation out there. You've seen the plan. You know the resources available. Rough estimate, how many years are we looking at to see that the right... Because me, I like food though. And this conversation is opening my head and my mind to the dangers we expose ourselves to if we don't take into consideration what we are eating. So how many years are we looking at where we can trace food in 10 minutes and not maybe 2 weeks or something?
Great. So resources, Ghana, we talk about naturals, we have them. So it's about leadership, how to harness them for us to get convert them into things that we need to. So if today leadership, the government says is doing this and that, but when I went there, the labs are well equipped.
Okay.
They don't lack. I asked them, do they have light issues? Like I was asking basic challenges that we face here. It's like they don't lack. There are vehicles ready to take them to the place that they want, and the public also help. And even you as a business operator, you are careful.
Yeah.
Because if they crack the rope, it's about a pastor, your chief, somebody come to call. They rather will be annoyed and push. So they also, when we explain our system, they liked our chieftaincy and all those things. So we have to now look at all these things, how to harness the good aspect of all these things to ensure food safety. So there's one thing about market queens. I started meeting them because when they speak, it goes. Right. Because the people identify themselves with them. You as a government worker, you go there. When I
asked the question, I was expecting maybe 5 years, 6 years. But then there are lots of explanations to it. Yeah. So think about it.
If you have the money, 1 year, 2 years, fine. But the way we are going, if money is available,
we really have to talk about it. So let's go for a short break. I'll be back. The conversation is getting interesting. We'll be back with more. Stay tuned. Stay in. My name is Ethel Poplampo. The show is called Living Well, and today we are talking about food safety. Dr. Sasu, before we went on the break, you are trying to convince me. Or you finish your convincing.
So as I said, it's a big business, and it's everyone's business. Look at the kind of people involved. So if it is investment, it might be huge. And this would come from the top government to decide to look at it. Lucky in Ministry of Food and Agriculture, I've got a new minister. He has launched an enhanced planted food, PFG. We want to watch how it goes. That's what we can say. And he's also passionate. He's looking at other areas. But I said resources is quite an issue because we all know what the past 2 or 3 years have gone into and it has affected globally. But we are still hoping things get better. So as I said, we can get there. Some of the things are low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit. When the farmers are ready to cooperate, put the right labels. These are simple things that will come in technology. Some things are low-hanging fruit. We are looking at sustainability. We don't want to do something that something that Ghana is well doing. When we said we start something and other people come and copy and they do better.
Right. It's interesting you mentioned the new agri minister. Yesterday there was a launch of a soya bean project. Let's take that video. We'll be right back.
Challenges that impede the smooth running of the soya bean value chain. A support to soya bean development program in Ghana has been developed to be implemented in the East and West Gonja districts and municipalities in the Savannah region. The project is in line with FAO's strategic framework in the areas of better production, small-scale producers, equitable access to resources, better nutrition, climate change mitigation, and adapted agri-food systems. The project is further aligned with the overall goal of Ghana's Planting for Food and Jobs Program Phase 2, PFJ 2.0, which seeks to transform the agricultural value chains for economic development with active private sector participation in 11 focused commodities, including soya bean. Your Excellency, in 2022, the total soya bean produced in Ghana estimated to be around 250,000 metric tons. We intend to increase this number by 2027 to 1 million. Indeed, Ghana is the number 1 producer of exporter of yam in the world, number 2 cocoa in the world, and we are hoping that by 2030, Ghana will be the number 1 exporter of soya in the world. It is the reason why we selected it in support of FASDEP2 as part of the PFJ 2.0 program to ensure that we have enough intervention to achieve this objective.
Right, that was Dr. Brian Champon at the launch of a soya bean project. I do understand that the new phase of the Planting for Food and Job is focusing on certain food groups which soya bean is a part of. And so the Ministry of Agric is partnering with the FAO to launch that particular project. But back in the studio, Ernest, we were just talking about mixing food. Are there some foods that when we mix them up could be harmful to us?
Yeah, definitely. Certain foods do not really coincide with or do not go along with certain foods, like as a mixture. So definitely when you are preparing your food, you have to be very careful of what you are adding up. Some foods have nutrients that counteract the other food nutrients. So you have to be very like tannins and this, they have anti-cancerous nutrients that helps or tries to impede or avoid certain nutrients from being absorbed. So you have to be very, very mindful of that, especially with calcium ion. So especially when we educate people with low HB to be taking foods that are very rich in iron, you have to be mindful of also advising them on calcium as well. So this calcium has a tendency of impeding or reducing the rate at which iron is being absorbed. So these are counter-reacting nutrients that you have to be mindful of in your food intake.
That being said, let's take the foodies joint, my favorite segment on the show.
Welcome back to another episode of Living Well Health Show here on Metro TV. My name is Darryl Freeman and I'm the executive chef here at Elisa Hotel Northridge in the beautiful city of Accra. Again, we're still on the smoothie making, the healthy options. So let's start smoothing. The smoothie we're going to make today is a nice fruity one. So as mangoes is in season, we've got some beautiful mangoes. This is one extra large mango which we got from the market. Some nice juicy pineapple. This is 1 pineapple. 2 bananas. Again, lovely Greek yogurt with lots of protein. This is about 250 mils. And being here in Ghana, we're going to add a little bit of ginger. So let's get smoothing. So what we need to do is we need the blender. And now again, just remember you need a high powered blender. So here we have one out here. Okay, first of all, we are going to add our yogurt. It's always good to add our liquid to the blades, because it'll blend it a lot better. Then we're going to add our ginger, our 2 teaspoons of ginger. We have our mango. We have our pineapple. Again, a banana. Again, you don't need to add any more sugar because you've got the natural sugars from the fruits. So let's put this lid on. Again, we're in a high power blender. We're going to put it on for 30 seconds. Again, we've got our nice jar. Okay, then what I'm going to do is finish it off with a little bit of things on the side, and then also I'm going to take a little bit of honey, which is optional, just to give it a little bit of over the glass. And then take our straw. So there we have it. Here is our mango, pineapple and banana smoothie. Again, full of flavour, full of fruits. Give it a try. Mango's in season, so there's nothing stopping you now to go and get some. Again, have this for breakfast or for lunch, or even in the evening while you're watching TV. Give it a go. We'll see you next time.
Right, Ernest, your comment.
So it's a perfect mixture. But what I would say in terms of dieting, it has to be tailored to individual, you understand? So mangoes has some vitamin C's, other nutrients. The bananas also has higher amount of potassium. You also have the pineapple, which is also rich in vitamin C as well. But as I said, dieting has to be tailored. So there may be individuals who may react to any of the ingredients in the mixture. And in the case of maybe when there's any food reaction, we wouldn't know which of the foods or which of the ingredients cause it, you understand? So when it comes to dieting, it has to be individual, okay. You understand?
Okay. Yeah. Right, let's take the aerobic session.
Hello, lovely people. Welcome to Alisa Hotel Fitness Center. I'm Emmanuel Kwe, one of the gym instructors in Alisa Hotel. All right, so today I'm going to take you through some session for the chest. So the machine I'm sitting on is the Olympic bench machine. So this is what we use to work out on our chest. So I'm going to demonstrate to you how it's being done. So follow me carefully so that you don't hurt yourself at home. All right, so we go. All right, so you go down slowly beneath the weight. Just hack your back whilst you're on the machine. So slowly lift it up and bring it down slowly down to your middle chest and lift it up slowly. Repeat the motion as much as you can go. So we go. All right.
Welcome back. You know it's important to stay fit, and so exercising it's a no-brainer. You should exercise all the time to keep your heart pumping blood to where it needs to be and to stay fit. We've already started a discussion on anthrax and how Dr. Sasu's outfit is trying to prevent it. But then let's take a story that we did in the Metro Newsroom. When we come back, we'll continue with the conversation.
Eid al-Adha is a time where Muslims here in Ghana and around the world celebrate the festival of sacrifice. During this time, Muslims pray for the Almighty Allah's continual blessings, slaughtering livestock in remembrance of Prophet Ibrahim's willingness to sacrifice his son. This year's celebration could be hindered by the outbreak of the deadly virus found in ruminants. Up north, the Upper East Regional Coordinating Council has placed a ban on the movement of ruminants in a bid to stem the outbreak of the deadly virus. Here in Accra, traders of the livestock have begun bearing the bends of the outbreak, resulting in low patronage of the ruminants. Abdul Majid, a cattle dealer, says business has taken a nosedive.
After last year, by this time, if you look for year all a full for animals, but right now, no, they say the sickness, but animals cannot come again. So these animals, you are seeing them like that, no, they keep long for a year. Some reach 3 months, 4 months, 5 months for a year. So things cannot come from north again.
Al-Hassan, another dealer in ruminants, adds the virus has resulted in the short supply of livestock since their suppliers mostly bring the animals from the northern part of Ghana.
That will be the big problem for us, no? Because right now, no, if this Salah be the big one, if this Salah, no, we celebrate with the animals. You understand? So if this animals no come, the Salah, everybody will make sad. You understand?
With the 2 weeks to the celebration of the festival of feast by Muslims, it looks like government would have to place measures in place to ensure that the spread of the virus across the country is nabbed in the bud in order to save lives.
They never see like live animal where they talk say this will be the sickness. The virus will affect them. It be dead body where they talk. So we don't know how we go do. Because this Salah will be the big Salah where we go celebrate. We all be Muslim for year. So we don't know how we go do that. Because if they say they want to spend the Salah tour, it's why it be few people, go please pass like 30 people go feed by these animals.
Audu Zulaiha Adamo, reporting from Circle, Avena Junction for Metro News.
Right, welcome back. Dr. Sasu, we have run out of time. We have like 2 minutes to go. So in 1 minute, give us everything we need to know about anthrax and how to prevent ourselves and protect ourselves, especially during the festive season.
Great. So it's so unfortunate this has happened, and we know the northern part of the country supply a lot of meat, as they have alluded and supported that. Yes, we have some few days to the Eid al-Adha. We want to assure the public that the current animal food products available are safe. Our men are on the ground making sure. As we all know, the movement permit has also affected movement of these animals here. What we have at our various places are safe. There has been stakeholder engagement. Yesterday, there have been some releases coming from the imams showing how those animals be sorted. And there will be a lot of vet personnel at various communities to ensure and inspect those animals that are going to be slaughtered because of the way they go about their celebration. They have to slaughter the animals themselves. So people should not be afraid. It's quite unfortunate that, as it says, they're not going to get enough as we always get, but it's something that has happened. So far, so good. We are in control of the outbreak because of the vaccination level which have gone high. As at 21st June, around 29,000 of animals there be vaccinated, but just that we can't get them down.
How about
down
bringing
south.
in cattle from neighboring countries like Nigeria and not necessarily the north? But
Great. So we have protocols. So when a country gets an outbreak already, the country must not even take things out. So our neighboring countries also are aware of the situation. And it's not advisable to also jump in to go and bring, the product yet in. We have had engagement, and they are okay. If there was a need, I think the few days to time would have access to come. But remember, the borders that those animals pass are from the northern side, and that's where the cases are. So we don't want to take chances, and it's sometimes good for us to sacrifice or suffer for a short time. And rather enjoy for the longer time.
The sacrifice will be hard because even the times that the animals are in abundance, some of us
the meat is our sacrifice. The meat is our sacrifice.
The meat is small even when the meat is in abundance. Then, but thank you, gentlemen. And as I wish we could go on and on and on, but our time is up. Thank you, gentlemen, for Ernest.
Yeah.
Let's end, Dr. Sasu, your final words.
Well, so what I will add up is we are what we eat, so we should be very mindful of whatever we take into our system. Try and get safety foods, if not safety, something very close to the safety foods, so that we are trying and avoid any food-related illness, and we all have a good well-being and live long to serve our mother nation.
Right, I understand you are NIMAT, the NIMAT company.
Yes, so we are NIMAT, we are a food and well-being institution. What we do is we work with corporates, we work with individuals, we work with schools. So even we started a school program or a school nutrition program that we are trying to incorporate healthy eating in our school system. Since we have majority of our children or at a younger age, we want them to start healthy eating at the younger age while they even grow up. So we do school nutrition program. We also do corporate, try and do nutritional talks, screening for them. Churches, institutions, individuals, we also prepare diet plans as well. So you can check us on our social medias, NIMAT Nutrition, Facebook.
That diet plan thing, we'll talk about it. But thank you, gentlemen, as I said, for coming to the show. I am grateful. But before, I remember I told you I have videos of your lab. So in your shots is Dr. Sasu's lab. Dr. Sasu,
okay.
What do you think can be done to improve your lab, or you are very comfortable?
What we will call for is more logistics and investment being given to us when it comes to our work. And we are hoping that from time to time we'll get the needed support constantly. Going to the field to pick samples should be something that should be a continuous, not one of something that surveillance must be improved. And we need a lot of equipment.
Done.
So that's the fish. I think people, when we talk about food, animal food product, talk about meat only. So the fish, in our apparel part, we pick the gills. The gills is what you are seeing already picked. Then we pick the kidney. They all have kidney, they have liver. We pick those parts. Then we take some, we do some cultures and find out what is there.
Right. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm very grateful for coming to the show. The show has been living well. My name is Ethel. We are back next week. Remember to keep